Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to go over the last chapter of the book, and in this chapter you're going to learn some new commands. Okay, let's start with the first one. The first command that I'm going to talk about is regen or regenerate command. So you may see that sometimes when you open your drawing, your curved lines look like this. So they are not smooth and they look like, for example, like this. And it looks like a polygon, right? So you may have a curved line, an arc, or a circle, or just you have used fillet, and for example in your furniture, you may see that something similar to this happens. So you can solve this issue using the regen command. So if you have seen something like this, you just need to type in RE, enter, RE, and then hit enter. And this issue will be fixed and your circle and curved lines will look smooth and nice. So regen commands kind of regenerates the drawing, or we can say recomputes the locations and visibility of all the objects in your current viewport. So whenever you see something like this happens to your drawing, don't worry, nothing is wrong with your drawing. You just need to hit use regen command and your drawing will look the way it should look like. The next command that I'm going to talk about is match properties. Okay, let's see what is that. So you see I have a rectangle over here and a line over here, right? And the line, the rectangle line looks kind of thicker and it is red and it is hidden line, right? So it has some properties and these properties are different from this line, right? So what if I want this line or any other object or any other shape to have properties similar to this rectangle? In this situations, we use a match properties command, okay? So the shortcut to this command is MA. Just type in MA and then hit enter. And then, as you can see, it is saying select source object. So first, pick the object that you want to kind of copy its properties and apply it to something else, right? So first pick this one and then pick the object that wants to get that properties. Okay, so select destination object. And I'm going to pick the line, and you see it has the same properties as this rectangle. It is a very useful command and you're going to use it a lot. The next command that I'm going to talk about is draw order. Okay, so let me draw something first. Okay, so imagine that, let's change the color of this. Okay, so imagine that this is a table and this is the wall in your drawing, okay? And the table is attached kind of to your wall, but you don't want to see this red line on top of your wall, right? So you may want it to go back and you don't want to see this red line over here, right? So you can pick your table and then right click and then use draw order command. Okay, so draw order and send it to back, right? Then this way the wall line comes on top. Okay, yeah. Something like this. So we have two hatches over here, and I want, for example, the circle to go behind the rectangle. I'm going to pick this and I'm going to send it to back. Draw order, right click on, okay, select the circle, right click, and then draw order and send to back. Now if you want to bring it up again, select it, right click draw order, and bring to front. Okay? The next thing that I want to talk about is finding the center of shapes. Okay, so let's see. I'm drawing a rectangle right now, a circle, and a rectangle, but this time let me draw that. And I'm gonna explode this so we can have individual lines. For these two objects, because they are kind of predefined shapes in AutoCAD, rectangle and circle, if your OS tab is on, let's try, I'm gonna draw a line, for example. So L enter. If your OS tab is on and if you move your cursor over the perimeter of the shape, you can easily find the center of the shape, right? And the same is for this circle. But what about for this one? So I'm not able to find the center this way, right? So for finding the circle of this and the center of this rectangle, you just need to draw one line from this corner to this corner, kind of a diameter. And then if your OS nav is again on and you can find the midpoint of this line, and the midpoint of this diameter is the center of the shape. Okay, and then you can start doing whatever you want to do. So you don't need to draw two lines to find the center. Using midpoint, you can find the center by only drawing one diameter. The next command is point. Okay, so if you come here to the draw section, draw panel, and expand this panel, you can find it over here, the command. Multiple points, okay? And the shortcut is PO for point. Okay, so using point command, you can place a point in your drawing. And that sometimes may come handy for you. Okay, so you see there is a very tiny point that you barely can see that, right? So in order to make it more kind of visible, you can come here to Utilities panel, okay? And then expand the panel, and you see we have an option which is point style. So click on point style, and you can find the different styles that we have for point. Right now it is this little dot. So I'm gonna pick this one, for example. You can choose any other one. And you see, so this is the point. And one important thing is that in order to be able to pick the point, for example, when I want to draw a line from this point and start from this point, the thing that you need to check here in order to step to that point is this one. Okay, make nodes active. Okay, if I turn it off, I'm not able to, actually it is using the nearest right now. Let's turn it off. So I'm not able to pick that point, right? But if I activate the node, I'm gonna pick I'm able to see the node kind of symbol and pick the point and start drawing whatever I want to draw. So in order to snap to a point, you need to activate the draw from in your OS tab. Okay. The next thing that I want to talk about is how we can create a rectangle with specific dimensions, but not using the previous method. Okay, so I'm gonna hit REC and hit enter. I'm gonna pick the first point, and if you remember, we previously used this option over here, dimensions, right? So this time I'm gonna use another method which is more handy. Okay, so I need to first specify this dimension, so I'm gonna say, for example, 5 inches, and then to specify the next one, I'm gonna use a comma, and then I'm gonna enter the next dimension, for example, 8. Okay, So 5,8 and then hit enter. So this rectangle is 5 by 8. Okay, one more time. REC enter. So for example, 2 by 3. Okay, 2 by 2, 3, enter. The next command that I want to talk about is divide. Okay, so divide. And the shortcut to this command is div. So whenever we want to divide an object into equal segments, we use divide command. So let's draw a line first and an spline. Okay, now I'm going to use the divide command to kind of divide this line into 6 pieces or 5 pieces, okay, or 5 segments, I would say. So I'm going to hit div and then hit enter. So as you can see, it is saying select object to divide. So I'm going to pick this line, and then it is asking me to enter the number of segments. So I'm going to type in 5 because I want it to be divided into 5 equal segments. Okay, and then hit enter. And you see these points over the line? So that means my line has been divided into 5 portions. So if I start drawing a line, for example, a line command, I'm able to, for example, pick this line and then draw a line, or this other one, this point, I mean. So if I want, I can use construction line, and then I want it to be vertical, and then I can easily place my line at these points, right? That's so easy. Now let's try that on this spline. Okay, let's hit first Ctrl Z. I want to go back. Okay, so whenever you are done with whatever you want to do with these divisions, after you are done, you can go ahead and delete the points, okay? Or if you, because they are going to be visible in your prints. So if you don't want to see them, you can kind of delete those, or you can come here again to from utilities panel, go to point style and change the style to this one, for example, so they will not be visible anymore. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z for now because I want to work with them. And yeah, let's go ahead and divide this line right now. And let's try something else. I'm gonna change the pointer style to this dot. And now I'm gonna divide this line. So div, enter, and I'm gonna pick this line. And I'm gonna insert 6, for example. And you see, you are not able to see anything right now. That's because that's only the points are showing with dots, tiny dots. But if I start drawing a line, if I move my cursor over this spline, you see when I touch a point, this node symbol comes up and show up. And you can just pick it and start doing whatever you want to do. For example, I want to place, for example, imagine that you have some lamps and you want to place it on these points on the line. So I'm going to hit CO, enter. I'm going to pick that, and I want to place it on these segments, on these points. So I'm moving my cursor over the line, and I'm placing those one by one. So it's going to be hard. If you make them visible, that's going to be easier for you to do so. So now I want you to pause the video, draw a line, like this, for example, and then divide it to 4 segments, and then start drawing vertical construction lines. So I'm gonna do it first, then you go ahead, pause the video, and do it next. Okay, so do 4, and then I'm gonna change the point style and XL enter vertical, and then just place those. Okay. One more thing about divide. Okay, as you can see, the line has been divided into segments, but it is still one single line, right? So it is one line, and if I delete that, it will be gone. The next command that I want to talk about is break. Okay, and the shortcut to this command is BR. And we have 2 types of break. Okay, I'm going to talk about both of them. First break, and then break at point. Okay, let's see what is break. So whenever we want to split a line or an object or an arc or anything, we use break command. Okay, so let's see how that works. So, and the icon is located here in the modify panel. If you expand it, you can find it over here. So this is break, and the one beside it is break at point. Okay, so I'm going to use break this time. And the shortcut is BR, and that's for break. Okay, so hit enter, and then it is saying to select the object. So I'm going to pick this point on the object. And you see, the first point that I picked is actually the initial point that break starts from there. Okay, and then it is saying specify second break point. So I picked the first break point, and now I'm going to pick the second break point. And if you want it to be, I can randomly just pick a point over the line, or I can specify a specific distance for this break, for this gap. Okay, so for example, I'm gonna insert 2 inches, or maybe 1 inch. Okay. And you see, I have a 1 inch gap in here. So let's do it again. BR enter. So it's important to know, in break, when you pick the first point, or when you want to select the object, that is going to specify, that is, we are defining the first breakpoint by picking the object. So make sure you are picking the right point, okay, or right location on your line. So I'm going to pick again somewhere around here. So this is my first point, the first breakpoint. And for the second, I can go either on this way or on this side. And I'm going to specify the distance. This time, I'm going to pick just some random point on the line. And that's it. Okay. And what this actually command does is that it kind of breaks the line into 2 separate segments. As you can see, this one is a complete separate line from this line. These 2 are 2 separate lines. Using break command, we split the line. Okay, so if I go ahead and delete this part, this will stay over here. Now I'm going to draw another line just below the first one. Okay, and now this time I'm going to use break at point command. Okay, and the icon is over here. So select it, and it is saying select object. I'm going to pick this line, and this time it is saying specify break point, and I want to specify only 1 point this time. Okay, and you saw that the first step was to select object, and by selecting the object, this time I didn't identify any breakpoint at the first step, right? By selecting the object. And in the next step, it asks me, actually in the second step it is asking me to specify breakpoint. So I'm going to pick a point over here, and that's it. So there is no gap. The line has been kind of split into two separate lines, but there is no gap between them, right? So these are two separate lines with no gap. So using break at point, we break the line, but there is no gap between the segments. So I can delete this one, for example. And between these two commands, break and break at point, the second one is the one that we mostly use. We don't usually use this one. So I'm going to do it one more time. So come here and break at point. I'm going to select this line this time, and then I'm going to break it from here, and that's it. I have three separate lines. Now let's talk about this next command. The next command that I want to talk about is Polygon. Okay? And the icon for Polygon is located over here in the draw panel. If you expand this fly out button, you can find it. Okay, so we have rectangle and polygon. Just pick the polygon, and then it is saying to enter number of sides. So a polygon has multiple sides, right? So in the first step, you need to specify the number of sides that you want. Are you looking for a triangle? Are you looking for a hexagon or something else? So you need to specify the sides. So I'm gonna say, for example, 5, and then hit enter. And it is saying specify center of polygon, right? So I'm gonna pick the center. And in the next step, it is asking me to choose between these two options. Do I want it to be inscribed in a circle, or do I want it to be circumscribed about a circle? So what is the difference between these two options? Let's talk about that. So I'm going to hit escape. So if you want your polygon to kind of fit around outside of this circle, and these are kind of touching each other, and they are tangent, okay? So if you want your polygon to fit outside this circle, this is circumscribed option, and for inscribed, the polygon is just fits within the circle, okay? And the corners of polygon are touching the perimeter of this circle. So why does AutoCAD ask us about these two options and which option we want? Well, actually it depends to what dimension we have actually. So if you have, when you want to create your polygon, if you have this distance from center to this flat side of the polygon, you are going to need to use circumscribed polygon, okay? But if the dimension or distance that you have in hand just when you want to draw that is from the center to the corner of the polygon, you need to use this other option, inscribed polygon, okay? So let's say, for example, you have this distance to the corner, and that's, for example, 3 inches, and you're gonna need to create a polygon. So come here and pick the polygon icon, and then specify the sides. So I'm gonna go with 5 as it is, hit enter, and then specify the center. And then this time, because I have this distance and that's 3 inches, I need to use inscribed in circle, okay? And then you just need to draw that, and then specify this distance, for example 3 inches, and then hit enter. Let's do it again. So I'm going to hit enter, and then a number of sides. Okay, specify the center point. I want it to be inscribed because you see this dash line over here, dash kind of orange line. That line starts from the center and goes to the corner, right? So that says that I have this distance. I want to specify this distance, and using this, I'm actually creating this inscribed polygon. So I'm going to enter 5 this time. Let's do it again. I'm going to use this option this time. So size 5, and then I'm going to use circumscribed about circle, and you see this time this line, this dashed line, goes to the center, to the midpoint of that flat side, right? So you just need to enter the dimension for that line. And that's it. The next command that I want to talk about is stretch. Okay, let's see what is this command and what it does, what we can do with that. Okay, so first of all, the shortcut to this command is S. So as you can see, S stretch. And the icon is located over here in the modify panel, this one, the stretch icon. Okay, so let's see what it does. Okay, so for example, imagine that I've drawn this suite, this hotel suite, and then I want to kind of expand or make this this bedroom larger from this side. I want to increase the width of the room. Okay, so an option is to just use move command and then use fillet or extend to draw these lines and kind of things like this. And another option is to use the stretch command, and sometimes you have multiple lines and you have lots of shapes that you want to be stretched, and using a stretch is much easier than kind of using move command. Okay, so you should know how to use that. You should be familiar with that. Okay, so for example, I want to make this room bigger, 4 feet bigger, or maybe 6 feet, okay, from this side. Okay, let's see how that works. So I'm gonna enter S, enter, and then you need to use crossing window and draw a window over this side of the shape. You see, I'm including these vertical lines and these horizontal lines over here. Okay, and then pick the objects. Now that I have selected the objects, I need to hit enter, and then you need to pick 2 points, okay, base point and target point. So for example, I want the room, it doesn't matter actually where you click, but you can click, for example, here, and then go move your cursor to the right, because we want to expand the room from this side, to stretch the room from this side. So move your cursor to the side that you want, and then you can either specify a value or just pick somewhere and click on the screen, and that's going to be done. Okay, so because we wanted to make it 4 feet bigger or 6 feet bigger, I'm going to insert a value for it. So 6 feet, and make sure you are in the right direction and the line is straight. Okay, it is very, very important, and you should be very cautious when using this command. Otherwise, if you are not very careful about it, you're gonna kind of ruin your drawing. Okay, so 6 feet, and I'm gonna hit enter, and that's it. So my room is kind of bigger right now by 6 feet. Let's hit Ctrl Z, and now let's see what happens if I pick only these vertical lines, not the walls on the side. Okay, so S enter, I'm going to pick these lines and then hit enter, and you see it is not acting well, right? So it is not correct. You need to pick these lines on the side as well to stretch the floor plan. So as enter again. I'm going to use crossing window, hit enter, and then you can stretch. You see, when I move my cursor a little bit, or if your polar tracking is off, then it is going to be to ruin your document. It is going to make a messy document for you. And sometimes you may even do not notice that, and and you may understand that when it is too late and you have created many other lines and you have completed your drawing and you notice something is wrong over here, my line is not straight. Yeah, that's why you use this command, but you didn't use it properly. Let's hit Ctrl Z. So be very cautious about when you want to use this stretch command. And one more important thing over here about the stretch command, when you hit enter and you want to draw a window, make sure to draw the crossing window, okay? So you are picking, this way you are picking these lines as well. But if you go and use selection window from left to right, you see you are not picking these two lines, and that's not gonna work, okay? So make sure to use crossing window. Use enter and use crossing window and then stretch, okay? So one more thing, the bedroom over here is a block, but this table is not a block, okay? And let's see what happens when I pick when I draw my crossing window actually in another way. So let's see. I'm gonna hit enter, and this time instead of picking only these lines, I'm gonna expand my window on the furniture. Okay, maybe on the chair. Just look at here. So I'm gonna cross my window until here, up to here, and then I'm gonna stretch it, okay? Hit enter, and when I stretch it, you see that table and chair is stretching as well. Yeah, but bedroom is not, the bed is not stretching because the bed was a block, but this was just regular line, right? And that is why it is kind of stretching. So if you do not want this to happen, if you want to prevent this from happening, you can just, when you have selected, if you have selected the object by mistake, you can just go ahead and hold the shift key and just remove this from your selection, right? And then just continue stretching the walls. Now let's go to the left side of the room. Okay, so I want to stretch this side of the room with the door. Okay, so I want them to kind of be moved to here, somewhere around here. So let's see. As enter, I'm gonna pick, just pay attention to where that frame, that kind of crossing window sits on the drawing. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna start from here and here. You see it is crossing over the door, and the door is selecting, right? It is going to be selected. So I'm going to pick here, but if I go ahead, I'm not talking about this. Let's see. When I move this, you see the objects are stretching as well. So my point was about something else, but let's do it again. So as enter, the window is crossing over the door, but the door is not completely in it, right? So when I select and hit, I want to kind of stretch it, you see the door is stretching. The first point is just over here and it is not moving. Yeah, that's why when I created, when I was selecting the door, I didn't pick the right point. Actually, if I wanted I wanted the door to be moved with my stretch, I should have drawn my crossing window from here, just so that all the door could be in it, inside of it. So, and this time I want this to be moved with my drawing as well. So S enter. You see right now the door is completely in my selection window. In my crossing window, I'm gonna hold the shift and exclude these items over here, but I'm gonna keep this one. Okay. Now hit enter and then just move it, and you see the chair and the door are completely correct, and they are just like they are moving. So that's how you need to do and use stretch command. Again, I just want to repeat this. When you are using this command, be very cautious and make sure either ortho or polar tracking are on. And I'm going to talk about this one today, okay? So don't worry about that. Make sure polar tracking is on and you are moving in the right direction, okay? Okay, so the next command that I want to talk about is a scale. And the shortcut to this command is SC. And also the icon is again located in the modify panel over here. This is the scale command, okay? So, for example, I want this rectangle to be bigger than this, okay? So I can use the scale command for this. I want it to be twice as big as what it is right now, okay? So I'm gonna pick, actually let's start with the shortcut command, okay? So SC enter, scale, SC enter, and then it is saying to select the object. So I'm going to pick the object, and it is looking for a base point. So, for example, I want this rectangle to become bigger from this point. Okay, so it is my, you see, I'm making it bigger or smaller, and this is my base point. Okay. And yeah, so you can go ahead and insert a scale factor. You can type in a scale factor or just pick somewhere on the screen and make it larger or smaller. Okay, so let's type in a scale factor this time. So SC enter. I'm going to pick the object, hit enter, pick the base point, and then because I want it to be twice as big as this one, I need to enter 2, okay? So the scale factor would be 2 for me this time, and it's bigger, right? And so if the scale factor, if it's bigger than 1, that makes your shape or object bigger. And if you use a scale factors below 1, just less than 1, that kind of makes your shape or object smaller. Okay, so let's make it smaller this time. SC enter, object, base point, and I'm gonna pick, for example, half. I want to make it half of the size of the previous one. Okay. Okay. Now I want to kind of go over one of the options that we have for a scale command. So if I hit SC enter and select the object and hit enter and specify the base point, you see we have an option over here which is a reference. Okay, so I want to talk about this. So if you don't have the actual scale factor when you want to scale an object, but for example, you know that you want this this edge or this side to be to have a specific size. For example, right now it is 1 3/4 of an inch, And for example, you want it to be 3 inches, right? You want this side to be 3 inches. And you don't know the scale factor for it, right? So you don't want to calculate that. You want the AutoCAD to calculate that for you. So in this time, actually, we are going to use reference option for it. So SC enter, I'm going to pick the object, specify base point, and then I know that I want this to be, and then we need to pick this option, right? This time. So I'm going to pick reference, or you can just type in R enter. And now it is saying to specify reference length. So which length is our reference? Which one of these sides I'm talking about? What is the length of it? So I'm talking about this, right? So I want this to be 4 inches, for example. So I need to specify a reference length. So I'm going to pick this point, and then I need to pick this point to specify the length, right? And then it is saying to specify new length. So I can just type in a value, or I can pick, if I have a point or something, I can pick that. So I'm going to enter 4 inches. And you see it is 4 inches right now. So let's do it again. So we want this side to be to have a specific length, right? So SC enter, select the object, base point, and then this time I'm going to pick reference, and it is saying to specify reference length. I want this to be 3 inches. Okay? Let's do it in another way. So I'm going to draw a line over here. Now I want this edge of the rectangle to be equal to this line. Okay? To be the same size as this line. So this time again I'm going to use reference option, right? So SC enter. Okay, so I'm picking this, and instead of inserting a factor or a value, I move my cursor over here and pick this endpoint, and they are the same size, right? That's gonna be so useful for you when you are using AutoCAD. The next thing that I want to talk about is using copy and paste using the clipboard. Okay, what we call Control-C, Control-X, or Control-V. Okay, so copy, cut, and paste. So for example, imagine that you have drawn something in the model space and you want to move it or make a copy of that in your paper space. Okay, so I'm gonna move it. Okay, so Control for cut, you need to hit Control-X and then go to layout and then just paste it over here. Control-V and then paste it over here. Okay, or if you want to use the icons, they are located over here. So this is the cut, and this one is the copy tool that you can use. And then you can come here and then paste it just by using this icon. Well, for the next part, I want to talk about some of the commands that you have previously learned. I just want to go over some of the other options that these commands have. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about is circle command. Let's type in C enter. You see, the one that we have used previously was this one. So we have used the actually after picking the center point, we have used either the radius or diameter to draw the circle, right? Now we want to try something else. So C enter. You see we have 3 other options over here: 3 point, 2 point, and tangent, radius. So let me, before doing that, let me draw some lines over here. Okay, so 3 points, I'm gonna pick this. Okay, you can either select it or type in 3P and they will work the same. And it is saying specify first point on circle. Just don't forget to snap to tangent when you wanna pick the points. Okay, so I'm gonna type in tangent, enter, and then pick a point. Here again, tangent, pick a point, and over here again, and that's it. Now let's try the second option that we have. Okay, so I'm gonna draw 2 lines over here. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit C, enter, and I'm gonna pick 2 points this time. Okay, so using 2 points, you can draw a circle. You can create a circle using only the first point of the diameter and the other end point of the diameter. Okay, so 2 end points of the diameter, you can create this circle. For example, this for creating a circle over here, I have 2 points and I can use them to create the circle, right? So C, enter, 2 points, and I'm gonna first pick the first point and the second point, and that's it. And if I want, I can trim the excess part. And the last option is this one, tangent radius, so, or TTR. So I'm gonna pick this one, and if you want your circle to be kind of located within 2 lines, like what we have right now, you can use this command, just as an example. So you need to specify point on object for first tangent of circle. So it is going to be tangent, and you don't need to snap the tangent yourself manually. So just pick a point on this side, and second point, you need to pick second tangent of circle. So I'm going to pick here. And then the last thing that you need to do is to specify radius of circle. So do you want your radius to be something small over here or a big radius over here? Yeah, so that depends on the radius you pick. So I'm going to hit, for example, 3 inches. Oh, that's too big for here. Let's delete this and try something smaller. Okay, so C, enter, this option, tangent radius, here, and I'm gonna enter a small value because my lines are kind of small in size. So maybe 1/9. Okay, yeah, that's it. So you see, the circle on this point, in this point, and this point are tangent to these 2 sides and lines. The other command that I want to talk about is rectangle command and the options that we have in there. So REC, enter, and for rectangle, you see we have a chamfer option, a fillet option, and 3 other options. So I want to talk about chamfer and fillet. So if you want your rectangle to have chamfered corners, you can pick this option. Okay, so I'm gonna pick chamfer, or you can type in C, and then it is asking you to specify first chamfer distance for rectangle. So I want it to be, for example, 1 inch, and specify second chamfer distance, again 1 inch, and then specify first corner of the rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to pick the first corner and then the second corner, and you see we have chamfered corners, right? And each of these have a 1 inch distance from this corner. Now the second option that we have for rectangle is fillet, right? So I'm going to pick fillet this time. And for fillet we need to specify a radius, right? So let's say 1 inch. And then I need to specify the first point and the last point, the other corner, and that's it. So you see we have round kind of corners in this rectangle. Okay, so this is what I wanted to cover for chapter 15. I'm going to talk about drafting settings later. Okay, so see you next time.